Section 23. Hinduism and the Vedas. The Vedas are the sacred foundational scriptures of what would become Hinduism, and offer a fascinating and challenging case study for our comparative evaluation of afterlife truth claims and their implications. As one of the oldest, perhaps the oldest, and amongst the most influential religious traditions in the world, the Vedic corpus has shaped the spiritual, philosophical, and cultural landscape of South Asia for over 3 millennia, and continues to inspire and guide the lives of millions of Hindus today. According to traditional Hindu understanding, the Vedas are not the product of human composition or historical development, but rather the timeless and infallible expression of divine truth. The Vedic sages, or rishis, are seen not as the authors or creators of the texts, but as the seers and transmitters of the eternal wisdom that underlies the universe itself. This claim of apaurusheya, or authorless-ness, is the cornerstone miracle of the Vedas, the foundation upon which their authority and significance rests. The understanding of the Vedas as the divine loom upon which the fabric of reality is woven is deeply rooted in Hindu faith and practice. For centuries, the Vedic hymns, prayers, and rituals have been passed down from generation to generation of Brahmin priests, who are charged with accurately preserving and interpreting the sacred knowledge for the benefit of all. The Vedas are seen as the ultimate source of all true knowledge, both spiritual and mundane. They are believed to contain the essential truths about the nature of the divine, the purpose of human life, and the path to liberation from the cycle of birth and death. The Vedic worldview is centered around the concept of Rita, or cosmic order, which is maintained through the performance of sacred rituals and sacrifices that align human action with divine will. For the devout Hindu, the Vedas are not merely a collection of ancient texts, but a living and dynamic tradition that connects them to the deepest truths of existence. Through the chanting of Vedic mantras, the performance of Vedic rituals, and the study of Vedic philosophy, the Hindu seeks to align themselves with the eternal wisdom of the universe and to realize their true nature as divine beings. However, from a historical and naturalistic perspective, the traditional Hindu understanding of the Vedas as divinely revealed and infallible texts faces some challenges. While the exact dates of the Vedic corpus are difficult to determine, scholars generally agree that the texts were composed and compiled over several centuries by multiple authors and editors, beginning around 1500 BCE with the arrival of Indo-Aryan tribes in the Indian subcontinent. The earliest portions of the Rig Veda, the oldest and most important of the 4 Vedas, plausibly reflects the religious and cultural world of early Indo-Aryan peoples. This is evident in their worship of anthropomorphic deities, their emphasis on sacred rituals and sacrifices, and their social hierarchy centered around the Brahmin priestly class. Over time, the Vedic tradition underwent significant changes and developments, as reflected in the later philosophical speculations of the Upanishads and the rise of the caste system. Moreover, the Vedas were transmitted orally for centuries before being written down, and there are variations and discrepancies between different recensions and regional traditions of the texts. While the Brahmin priests developed sophisticated mnemonic techniques to preserve the Vedic hymns, the regional discrepancies suggest it is not impossible that the oral transmission of such a vast body of literature over many generations may have inevitably led to changes, interpolations, and errors. From a naturalistic perspective, there are also plausible explanations for the composition and development of the Vedas that do not require divine revelation. The Vedic hymns, for example, can be seen as the product of a long tradition of Indo-European poetic and mythological composition that predates the Vedas and is reflected in the similarities between the Vedic deities and those of other Indo-European cultures, such as the Greeks and Romans. The development of the Vedic ritual system can be understood as a way of reinforcing the social and political power of the Brahmin priestly class, who used their monopoly on Vedic knowledge to maintain their status and authority. While the cultural implications within the Vedas can be explained naturalistically, I believe the best miraculous evidence in favor of the divine authorlessness of the Vedic corpus is in its potential scientific foresights. For example, the Nasadiya Sukta in the Rig Veda may suggest the universe arising from a state of non-being, often seen as analogous to modern ideas of cosmic expansion. There was neither non-existence nor existence then. There was no realm of air, no sky beyond it. What covered it and where? What gave it shelter? Was water there, unfathomable and deep? Then there was neither death nor immortality, nor was there then the torch of night and day. The one breathed windlessly and self-sustaining. There was that one then, and there was no other. This hymn reflects on the mystery of the origin of the universe, sometimes interpreted as a philosophical inquiry into the nature of the cosmos before creation, bearing a light resemblance to modern cosmological questions about the state of the universe prior to the Big Bang. Even so, many Hindus do not view these as scientific claims, but rather as philosophical speculation and existential questioning. Yet, if taken at face value as a scientific foresight about reality, it's worth noting that the verses don't extend too far away from other creation myths where the universe was created out of nothing by a transcendent entity. In fact, this sounds very similar to the Abrahamic creation myth, where a supreme god made the universe out of nothing. However, the Vedic conception of creation may be more accurate to our current scientific understanding of the beginning of the universe, but only because it remains ambiguous, whilst the Abrahamic creation myth implies a certain linear order of creation, which doesn't seem congruent with modern theories. Regardless, the similarities could suggest shared truth or shared error. Beyond the origins of the cosmos, a credit to the Vedic corpus is its extremely early recognition of astronomical timescales. Most ancient religious traditions typically hold that the universe is less than 1 million years old, or don't assign an age at all. Yet the Vedas present the universe as billions of years old. In Hinduism, a kalpa is a unit of time equal to 4.32 billion years, a day of Brahma, or 1,000 Mahayugas, which is supposed to be measuring the duration of the world, a number which is remarkably close to the modern approximation of the Earth's age of 4.54 billion years. While scientists hold the 4.54 billion year approximation is within plus or minus 50 million years, the odds of the kalpa only being 220 million years off is still fairly low if we are assuming the number was a naturalistic guess. However, the kalpa refers to the duration of the universe as a whole, its creation, existence, and eventual destruction, not just the Earth. During this cycle, the entire cosmos, including all celestial bodies, realms, and living beings, undergoes this process. Current scientific understanding suggests that the universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old, which could undermine the Kalpa timescale as a miraculous scientific foresight, considering it suggests that the universe should have been destroyed approximately 3 times already. One of the more intriguing claims that could be miraculous scientific foresight is in a post-Vedic text that describes something similar to atomic theory. In the Vaisheshika Sutra, the author suggests the existence of an indivisible fundamental particle called the anus, atom. Vaisheshika Sutra 1.1.10. Eternal substances are those which are not produced and which do not perish. Vaisheshika Sutra 7.1.20. There is no division of atoms as they are infinitely small. Vaisheshika Sutra 5.2.2. Substances such as the atoms are indestructible and eternal. Vaisheshika Sutra 7.1.23. By the combination of atoms, dyads, and triads, the gross objects are formed. Vaisheshika Sutra 1.1.5. The final cause of the material world is the conjunction of atoms. The author does describe something that sounds like atoms, but the description is not entirely scientifically accurate. We know that atoms can be divided into subatomic particles like neutrons, electrons, and protons, which can further be divided into quarks and leptons. This proposition is similar to ones made by ancient Greek philosophers like Democritus around 500 BCE, who theorized the existence of a smallest indivisible unit of matter, which he called atomos, or uncuttable. It is plausible that the author heard of such theories from Hellenistic sources after the conquests of Alexander the Great around India in 327 BCE, as the Vaisheshika Sutra is believed to have been written sometime between 600 BCE and 200 BCE. Of course, there is the possibility that the author wasn't describing what we call atoms, but rather some smaller, more fundamental particle we haven't discovered yet. This speculation also seems unlikely, as we have discovered beneath quarks and leptons is the realm of quantum particles. Quantum particles like electrons, quarks, and photons are governed by the principles of quantum mechanics, which describe reality as probabilistic and dynamic rather than static. These particles exhibit properties like superposition, where they can exist in multiple states simultaneously, and wave-particle duality, where they behave both as particles and waves. On a very small scale, particles can pop in and out of existence, constantly changing due to quantum fluctuations, which contradicts the idea of anus as eternal, unchanging entities. The claim to miraculous scientific foresight becomes weaker if we take into account the other Vedic and post-Veda passages that should be reasonably interpreted as containing scientific claims. The Rig Veda suggests that the sun moves across the sky because it is drawn by a supernatural chariot. And some post-Vedic texts, like the Puranas or the Surya Siddhanta, suggest a geocentric model of the universe, that the Earth is flat, or that the entire universe spins on an axis centered at a mountain that is 84,000 yojanas tall, approximately 1.08 million kilometers. If viewed as scientific claims, these suggestions don't stand up to empirical scrutiny. Even though the Vedas and post-Vedic texts may not be perfect predictions or explanations of scientific phenomenon, they clearly demonstrate an admirable early attempt to understand the universe through systematic thought. Furthermore, the Vedic concept of the cycle of birth and death, the law of karma or moral causation, and the ultimate goal of moksha or liberation from suffering are not merely abstract philosophical ideas, but powerful existential claims that resonate with many people today. Nevertheless, within our naturalistic analysis, we must critically evaluate the strength of the evidence of the Vedic claims to divine inspiration and come to our conclusion.